Good evening, South Windsor, and welcome to the South Windsor Town Council Special Budget Work Session for Thursday, April 13th at 7 p.m. Could we get a roll call, please?
Councillor Evans? Here. Councillor Lopez? Councillor Kaboski?
Here.
Councillor Paterna?
Here.
Mayor Pendleton?
Present.
Deputy Mayor King? Councillor Kozakowski?
Here.
Councillor Gamble?
Here.
Councillor Leidecker?
Thank you. On tonight, item 3 is items for discussion. The general government proposed budget for fiscal year 2023-2024. We have the Health Department, Information Technology, Central Services, and Human Services. And we'll start concerning Central Services, which is on page 95, please. Mr. Maniscalco, do you have someone from Finance that's going to be reporting on this, or will you be?
Myself and my good friend Jess here are going to try to go through Central Services for all of you. So basically, the overall budget's $249,575. It's a $9,820 increase. We do get some questions sometimes from individuals regarding Central Services. This is kind of the central clearinghouse for purchases and activities that can span through multiple departments. So like everybody uses pens, so all the pens are purchased through this department. What you'll see in a lot of other departments is office equipment, an office equipment line item. That line item is often for equipment that's more specialized for their department. So for example, in the tax collector's office, it might be like a money counting machine or something of that nature. Whereas in Central Services, it's your paper, your pens, and paper clips, for example.
Any questions? Not seeing any. Thank you, Mr. Maniscalco. We'll be moving on to IT, which is on page 99. Mr. Roberts?
Good evening, Madam Mayor and councilors. Just going to get to page 99 here. There we go. I'm actually going to be on page 101. That's where it kind of shows our line items. So, good evening. Two major driving factors for the IT budget this year were the market rate adjustments for salaries, which you've heard over and over again at this point. The other big ticket item for the IT department is all the software maintenance contracts that we do for all town departments. So we centrally manage all of the IT contracts for the Munis software, the police department software, the fire marshal software, et cetera, et cetera. So we have over 60 plus contracts that we evaluate every year and go out and look for pricing. So just to give everybody an idea, if we didn't do anything, it would have been an $80,000 increase in those contracts this year. However, we went out and we looked at co-terming, we looked at licensing and auditing to determine what we were really using versus what we had licenses for. So if a staff member isn't really using the license, then we remove the license from them. In addition, we used a lot of state and regional contracts. So by doing that, we actually brought that increase down to $62,000. So we saved about $18,000 by doing that. Other than that, most of the other line items are either staying the same or with moderate cost of living adjustments for obviously buying toner and stuff. We have to adjust for inflation and stuff like that, but everything else is pretty much staying the same. So if there's really nothing else to report other than answer any of your questions that you might have.
Just a question. Do you have, oh, I told everybody no questions. Sorry, but it just popped into my head. I have a question. Do we, does our IT department service the library with their computers and printers and all that they have over there?
We support both grant agencies. We support the library as well as the fire department. Okay. The fire department has their own IT staff, but when they need help or support, we help them, and we also take care of the, it used to be called Firehouse. It's now called ESO. However, the fire department is just moving away from Firehouse into ESO. The fire marshal's office has been in the ESO platform for several years. But we take care of that server and everything involved in it.
And they're printing, copying machines and all that And you handle the maintenance programs for all that?
We handle all the copiers, however, it is in central services. It's one of those things that the manager was talking about. The payment for the copiers are in central services. However, we're always involved in the bidding process, as well as, they're really not copiers anymore, they're multifunction devices, so they're scanners and printers as well. So we take care of any maintenance and issues with them, interfacing with the company and whatnot.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Evans?
Thank you. So I have no questions or issues, no issues with your budget. My one question goes on page 99 in regards to your interns, which is now a 0. And I know this is something we had talked about a couple years ago, is kind of removing that. Is that a cost savings or an advantage to the town having them or not having them? You know, I think about even the advantage for an intern as well, you know, that we're providing for an intern to be able to have the experience. And then also I know sometimes with the evening meetings and, you know, just having an extra person available, and I'm just thinking, might an intern fit that kind of role to help the IT department?
So everything you're talking about, we have investigated and worked on. And the challenges that we found with interns is, for the most part, people really are not interested in interns in local government IT. We had a hard time getting them. And then their track record was somewhat spotty as far as reliability and showing up. So we decided, when we were looking at getting rid of the intern role, we have a agreement with other towns. So we provide the IT services for Tallinn, Coventry, and Andover, Connecticut. Andover was looking for more time, more than our one person could do. So we picked up a second part-timer. He's been with us now almost 2 years. And what we ended up doing is saying, instead of actually having these interns that were unreliable, take that part-timer, fill in the rest of his work schedule up to 37 and a half with the intern hours. So we saved money, and then we were able to use the remaining funds to hire the admin who sits down at the EOC answering the door for the health department, the facilities department, IT, and then is supporting Melissa and Clay and myself in administrative functions down there.
Have we looked into like college interns? I think of like students, is that where we were getting them from?
I've hired 2, but again, we have relationship with a bunch of faculty at Eastern, Southern, UConn, and when we reach out and say, do we have anybody, we've had no applicants come down. So I don't know if there's a trend right now or whatnot, but we'd certainly welcome having interns because they do have a vital role in an organization. We've just had very hard times getting them. And then we looked at having interns do like these night meetings, but work-life balance is very difficult right now, and people don't necessarily want to work 7 to 11 p.m. filming, you know, council meetings, special council meetings and stuff like that. I know it's riveting TV, I understand that, but we do struggle to get those people. So what we've ended up doing is we have flex hours. So the people that film this, Michael right now is down at the control center, will flex his hours around to accommodate him sleeping in late or going home early based on the contract terms.
We haven't had an 11 o'clock meeting in
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
No,
2 years? 2 years? I don't know.
I will give you guys a lot of credit. We used to go
Thank
to
you.
11 o'clock very regularly, and thankfully we don't do that now, but it's still hard to get somebody to be here for like 6:30 to film a meeting.
I hear your point. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.
Counselor Paterna?
Madam Mayor, thank you. Just a quick question. Mr. Roberts, we had a great presentation, very impressive by Thad on the GIS system. So how does what he talked about that day, that meeting, fit into this budget?
So all of the software, one of the 60-plus contracts that I was talking about is with ESRI, the Environmental Systems Research Institute, or ESRI.
Right.
They're the makers of the GIS software that we use here. So we pay for all those licenses, and then obviously Thad's time's in my budget as a full-time employee. So that's kind of how he fits into the budget.
All right, so what he talked about, those additional, like, kind of an upgrade will be in this budget?
No, so what he was talking about is, we always look to use GIS and do projects, very much like Capital
Right.
does. So if we want to invest in digitizing new records or something like that, that have been traditionally paper,
Right.
that's not in an operating budget. We treat that as a project, and that would come out of capital projects.
Capital projects, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Counselor Campbell?
Thanks. One question, 2 parts. Is the $52,000 for the financial software, is that a yearly cost?
Which one are you talking about?
I think it's financial system software. Or is it my eyes aren't great. It's either that or the SSL certificates, and I hope it's not that.
All right, there's two pieces of software. The Munis software is not $2,000 a year. That's extensively more. What you're probably seeing is the software. We bought QuickBooks to invoice all the other towns and stuff like that, to keep track of all of our invoices and our billings, because we set it up to be automatic delivery. So at the start of every month, the finance director in Coventry, Tolland, and Andover receive bills from us for service. So we just use that software to automatically generate their bills. And then if there's any additional hours, because we have a term in the contract that, let's say their police department has an emergency in the middle of the night, they can call us out. It's additional services on top of the regular hourly rate. There's an overtime rate and stuff like that. And so we have to build that into the invoice when we invoice them.
All right, thanks. And part two, did that camera show up yet from the?
I will say we have not received that other go bag. However, if you go down to the Madden room, we found a different technology, very much like the audio recorder down there. It's a one push button with a wide angle lens. The meeting that you guys had the other night on Tuesday was using that technology. So if you go back and watch, it's a wide angle shot, but it's going to make it easier for everybody that records in the Madden room, because they're not going to have to go get the go bag, and they're not going to have to worry about returning it so the next person can use it. So the go bag is only going to be used for the sprinkle room and any offsite meetings like the one that happens down at the treatment plant once a quarter. And I believe the Public Building Commission meets at the Board of Ed, so they'll use it unless they have technology in their building I'm not sure of.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Rivers, for your presentation this evening.
Thank you very much.
And we'll be moving on to the Health and Human Services, which starts on page 189. They're combined. However, we'll go to page 190 for the Health Department. Melissa, please. Or wherever you'd like us to go, 192, wherever you want us to go, you tell us.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, do you want me to give just a quick overview for the department, if that's
Sure.
okay? So, the overall budget for the health department is $228,805. They're looking for a $23,675 increase. The majority of that's due to market adjustments, but then also there's a new requirement for lead testing, correct?
Lead inspections.
Lead
yes.
inspections and testing. So I'm sure Melissa can give a little more color to that increase and the challenges associated with that.
Sure. Hello. So, like the town manager was saying, as of January 1st, 2023, our state legislature passed Public Act 2249, which puts our lead regulations more in line with the EPA and CDC standards. So for our normal, regulations, whenever a child has an elevated blood lead level, depending on what that level is, we have to go out and do a full environmental inspection, which includes sampling the entire house for, chipping paint, dust wipes, for all of the friction surfaces, water samples, soil samples. Depending on the family, we can be taking samples of the spices they use or jewelry or anything like that. Historically, we have outsourced that because those are very time-consuming inspections. So this Public Act has lowered the threshold that constitute the need for those inspections. And it's also going to go down again January 1st of 2024. So right now we're seeing an influx of cases, and then we're going to see even more because that level that constitutes being an elevated blood lead level is going to go down even lower. It's going to go down to 5. It was originally 15. So I took previous historical data. I took the numbers from the DPH lead program posts and reports to the CDC for elevated blood lead level of children in South Windsor historically. And I took the number that we usually budget for a case and just basically did some simple math to get the math that I did here. Just to give you just an idea, we usually have one case about every other year. As of January 1st, we've had 3. So I've already gone through my budget this year for the first case that we had, and have been continuously going out for various cases, just because when you look at lead, or when you look at paint, you can't just be like, oh, yep, that has lead in it. You have to test everything, and if those tests come back as not a leaded surface, then I'm going back out to the house to do more testing. So that's the major increase that we see for this budget, as well as some required funding for the transition from my current position as the environmental health officer to our official director of health when I graduate with my master's degree. And then we also have an increase in the town manager proposed. I think that's a typo. It says lead environmental inspection, but it's actually food environmental inspections. We also have new food code regulations that were just adopted in February of this year. So that requires that new certified food inspectors, which we have a vacancy right now, we need a certified food inspector, have to go through shadow training with me, but then they also have to go through what's called standardization training with a food inspection training officer. There's very limited numbers of those training officers across the state, and I reached out to 3 of them, and the minimum that they were charging an hour was $80. So.
Did you say $80 an hour?
$80 an hour, yep. They know they are a hot commodity right now, and they are capitalizing on it. Wow. So that is that extra increase that you see in the town manager's proposed as well.
I'm in the wrong profession.
Apparently I am too.
Holy moly. Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for the report. I'm very pleased and happy that you're here in South Windsor and doing the great job that you do, because I know I couldn't do it. There's so many little intricacies of your position with all the inspections and everything that you just described. I'm sitting here amazed when you were discussing the lead, and I'm like, and your jewelry and this and that, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why I came into the field. It's a different thing every day. It's not monotonous. It's never a dull moment.
Wow. Well, congratulations. Great.
Thank you.
Great job. Any questions? Go ahead, Andrew Paterno, Councilor Paterno.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to, not a question, but a statement. And I've only been involved in the temporary food permits, farmers markets, events, those kinds of things. But my reaction always is, everyone is happy to work with you, glad to see you. You do a great job with them, so thank you very much for making South Windsor a welcoming place. Okay, thanks.
You're very valuable to us. Don't go anywhere. No. No. Councilor Kozakowski?
Sounded like a threat.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Not gonna be allowed to sit down now.
Just a quick question, maybe it's more for the town manager. I'm looking at the recruitment and training line, where last year the council approved $6,000. Department request was $2,000, but then it was upped with your proposal to $4,200. Was your rationale to go above what the department request was?
Well, I think we have some recruitment requirements for that department right now, because I think we just lost another employee out of there, so.
Our specialist.
We do have some recruitment requirements to backfill that position. And then also we do have, because I think as Melissa alluded to, she's hopefully going to be getting her degree pretty soon here, but until she does, we cannot make her our official director of public health yet. Until that point, we do have some fees associated with that to pay the town of Windsor to help us out in that interim period, so.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your presentation this evening.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
And she's going to get her degree in August. There's no questions about that. So.
And now we're moving on to Human Services. Ms. Andrea Confrancisco, please. And that's on page 195. 190. Don't have my glasses on. You tell us where you want us to be.
Wait, I thought you'd have a TikTok video to show
I know.
us, no?
What about a TikTok?
I
197.
thought you'd have a TikTok video to show us, no?
You know what? We almost went viral. Well, your viral and my viral might be different, but we had 10,000 views on one of them, but viral is considered 500,000. I'm like, you know what, I'm really happy with 10,000.
All
It might be
right.
at 11,000, I'm not sure, but it's good energy. So this is Liz Langevin, as I think you all know, our Director of Youth and Family Services, so I asked her to come up. So we're on page 196, the Human Services Administration. The only difference in that is I had increased the professional line to accommodate the relocation funding. As you know, I had to come before you to ask for this current year budget, so I did ask for another 5,000. We do have somebody that we're housing right now, so that is a known cost. You know what, I'm gonna put the bug in your ear, because I know you were gonna ask me at the end, what else do you need, Andrea? But I'm gonna put the bug in your ear that, this is not imminent, but it's kind of imminent. So right now, for the HS admin budget, I have Cindy Malone and Liz O'Brien. And Cindy Malone right now does the transportation, and she runs the whole front office. She does all the monies. She keeps us, you know, she's like the secretary of the office, right? And she hates that word, but you know how the secretary knows everything and does everything? That's Cindy. And if she retires, which is not yet, we're gonna need 2 people to replace her. I'm putting that bug in your ear. Okay, moving on to Youth and Family Services, page 200. The biggest change in that would be we are right now we're asking for our school outreach coordinator to be renamed to better reflect her position and also to add additional duties to her. And we want to create a prevention coordinator, which is a little bit more like what is really a school outreach specialist, right? Do we really know what that is? Well, prevention coordinator kind of encompasses more of her role. And because we have about $70,000 in opioid funds that we have to use, and our department was tasked to spend that, we're going to give her that role of using that money, which has to be used for prevention programming, in addition to a handful of other things that we would like her to take on as well. So we've asked for an increase for her. And let's see, we also then, we had to increase the part-time salaries to reflect the minimum wage increase. So that's the big part in youth and family. Adult and senior on page 204. Let's see, the big issue there is I had asked for the current part-time position. Right now, the position is vacant right now, but it was 29 hours a week with prorated benefits. And I asked to have it go full-time, which is just over $12,000 increase. She's already getting this, it was a she then position before, that's why I keep saying she. She was already getting benefits, so it's not a full benefits package at this point. But that's not in my budget, so it's just reflecting the salary. We've seen a huge increase in need for people. Over the past few years, we've taken on the renter's rebate program, so instead of a 5-minute application, we're now entering it all, we're determining it, it's everything on us, so a 5-minute thing. Same thing with energy assistance. Energy assistance is through CRT, and CRT tasked the intake sites to basically do their work, and then they just review it, so something that was taking 5 minutes is now taking 20. The increase in senior housing has impacted us, the increase for transportation, the increase for need. I mean, people are struggling. So that is why I asked for that position. It's been part-time before me. It's been that way. And then let's see, what else we have here. Transportation on page 209. I increased those hours by 3 hours per week for the drivers. It was kind of an estimate. We've seen an increase in need of transportation. I don't know if you're familiar with the FISH network. It was Friends in Service here, and after 40 years in business, they're a nonprofit organization, they folded during COVID, and it was a 100% volunteer-based program, and they provided medical transportation to people to surrounding towns. And now that they're not going to be back in business, we've seen a real big impact. Sometimes we can get 17 people to medical appointments in a day, which, maybe used to be like 5 or 6, maybe went up to about 10 in the past, few years, but then it's launched itself into a whole new realm. So we've seen an increase in that. I did keep the bus amount in there, even though I wrote a grant last year. We were supposed to get the bus in the fall. It's delayed. They have no idea when we were going to get it. But I plan to write a grant the next time they ask. And so at that point, I won't know how much it's going to be. So I kept it in there, but it's around $15,000 is our responsibility. This past grant I wrote, it was 100% funded because of COVID monies. With the exception of a few dollars that I wanted increased air conditioning in the back of the bus, which makes a better, more pleasant ride for older adults. So we have to fund that. But other than that, it was 100%, which is super exciting. But this, who knows if that's going to happen again, right? And then I also kept the terrain vehicle in there. This is actually supposed to be, the current year that we're in is the third year of that lease, but we haven't gotten it yet. So I have to keep it in. We're hoping that we're supposed to get it, no, I'm not gonna go down that route. But we were supposed to get it 2 years ago, and we still do not have it.
Is it a Ford?
I don't know if those are Fords. It's a GMC?
Gyps?
It's a terrain vehicle, so it's gonna be a lot better because what we've done with the shortage of bus drivers is we've hired just regular drivers, and they're utilizing our vehicles to drive people, 1 or 2 people at a time, because we couldn't get bus drivers. And that's worked out really well, and that vehicle is gonna be really great for people getting in, because the cars are too low, and the minivan is a little too high, so it's gonna be a nice middle road if we get it. But I'm hopeful. So I kept that in there. And then the last thing is the VNHS. Oh, sheltered workshops. I don't have, there's no change to that. That's just supporting Mark, which helps people with, job placement and job training and supervision for people with developmental disabilities, and that remains stagnant. But the visiting nurse is on page 215. And I did decrease the budget by $2,000, but I moved it to the operating, the equipment line for adult and senior services, because we need to replace the dishwasher that's the original to the building. And it's about $2,000. So I took $2,000 from VNHS and moved it to the equipment line. And the reason why I could do that is because right now, the VNHS is not charging us for these services. But they're under new ownership. They're owned by ECHN right now, and they're being bought out by Yale, and they have no idea. They never used to volunteer their time, just saying, this is not what they used to do. But they came back from COVID volunteering their time twice a month. And so they don't really know if they're gonna start putting a charge on that. So I couldn't drain it completely, but I know I have some wiggle room. And that's all I got.
Thanks. I always forget until you come in front of me and reading those things, how much is going on in your neck of the woods, and it's impressive.
Thank you.
Very impressive. All this stuff that you keep it all in the air and keep it all going is like it's all in your head, and you just can keep it going. So, anyway, so how much? So you said you now do renters, and who used to do it before you?
The assessor's office used to do the renters rebates. Yep,
Oh, okay.
We took that on. We did the property tax relief always, and they asked us if we could do that, one, because we know the people.
Right.
We're already doing other financial assistance programs. It's a way to connect with people and to see if they need help.
Right.
That's why we originally started it. This is even before my time, but because you can learn a lot from meeting with people. We make home visits to do it. When you make a home visit, you see some things about people you don't know about. It's just a way to connect with people and help them in other ways. So we took that on because it made sense, but there's 400 applications a year that we do, just for that program.
Right. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to kind of follow along with what Councilor Campbell said. There's a lot in here that shows what you guys do, but taking the tour when we had the open house and seeing the different things, the mental health services that are provided, the hearing services, it is amazing the work that you guys do, and I hope the community realizes how lucky we are to have you guys there and doing everything that you do. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I really have a great staff. We really care about people, and they're creative and innovative, and you know, I stand up here with Liz because she's really my partner in crime. She does a great job with our youth and family division, and it's really grown that program over the years too. So, and we feel very supported by all of you and also the community, you know, with our food and fuel bank and our programming. We really feel the love.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Please go, Francesco.
Oh,
Mark-
so formal.
Yes, the MARC program, you know how excellent it has been over the years. Are they in good shape? Do they need any more support?
They haven't reached out to me, and if they don't reach out to me, then I just keep it.
So they're okay, okay.
Yeah. If they needed help, because we just increased that just a few years ago.
Yes, right, 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think it was 2,000 before, and it went up to 5. So I think it was at 2,000 for probably about 20 years.
Right.
So the fact that it went up to 5, I'm good keeping it at 5, and they haven't
Okay.
reached out to me.
Okay, great. And I just want to share with you that, you know, I visit other senior centers because I do some workshops and things on nutrition. I think probably because you sent my name to other senior directors.
Maybe, I
but,
don't know.
But I just want to say, when I visit those other towns, they're not doing 20% of what you guys are doing. So your staff is to be commended because there's so much going on to serve seniors and their families, not just seniors. And the only complaint I have is I think we were a little shortchanged on the chair volleyball game, the town council, when we were playing.
Because you had dairy
I
up.
think the referee, I think, was leaning toward the other side. But other than that, it was a great day. Thank you.
It was a lot of fun. We'll have to schedule that again now that
It
we're
was a
open on
great-
Saturdays.
It was a great day, yes.
And you know, I just want to make a point about those Saturdays. That's fully funded by the rental income that I'm getting from the, I told Mike, I earn every penny of that rental income. It is a lot to manage those rentals, and so it's a gift to be able to put it back into our programming and to be able to increase the hours to include Saturdays, so. Yeah, so we'll do it
great.
again, Andy, or Counselor Paterna. It's fun.
We're practicing privately, so
Oh, okay.
come prepared next time.
I did just want to make another point, though, about bustling. We're actually seeing a lot of non-residents coming into town, into our senior center, because other senior centers are not doing what we're doing. And that's a conversation I actually had with Mike today, and we're going to try to figure out how we can kind of control that a little bit. But of course, you know, pickleball has, you know, our program's 11 and a half years old, and now all these other towns are just starting pickleball programs. We were the third in the state. So anyway, I digress. And chair volleyball, I think we might have been the first too. So we like to be innovative.
I'd like to say thank you. I am utilizing the services at the senior center now, thank you. Okay, I'm there.
Because you are of age.
I eat lunch there occasionally, and I come in for the events and did the beautiful peace puzzle on the wall. That was awesome.
Which we won.
I had a great time. And just to go back to Mark for a second, they just had their bowling event that raised a lot of money that they were to have 2 or 3 years ago. But because of COVID, they couldn't have it. And I donated $200 there to Mark. So they received a donation from our town. And just let me know if the cases of toilet paper are not coming in anymore
They
over
are.
there.
No, they still are. Yep.
Good, okay.
Thank you.
So, love you guys, love everything that you do, and most importantly for me is the food baskets around the holidays and the gifting programs for the families. I think is so heartwarming and touching on how we help our community. And also with everything else too, with whatever energy assistance they may need or emergencies. You guys are number one, and I'm glad you're there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I want to just comment on Mark, because you asked about the funding. We actually provide transportation to about 10 of the people that are in that program to their shelter workshop, in addition to the extra 5,000. And that's running it in the morning at 7 a.m. and then again in the afternoon. So that's twice a day, about 10 people. So that's another way that we do it as an in-kind, just to let you
Good.
know. Yep.
Thank you for being here this evening.
Thank you.
And then we have, thank you, motion to adjourn. A second? All those in favor? Aye. Not hearing any, the motion